Okay, again, picking up where we left off with section 3.8, adding and subtracting unlike fractions. In order to add or subtract unlike fractions, they must have the same denominator. For this exercise, we will use the least common multiple method we learned in the last section. However, since we are trying to find the least common denominator, we will call it the least common denominator, or LCD. Now we're going to skip over all of this here because I want to get to the more practical application of all of this writing here. Now we'll stop here to fill in this section here. It says the LCD it'll be 3 times 5 and it'll equal 15. Now it says 5 do not have the prime factor 3 from the LCD, so we multiply the fraction that has a 5 as a denominator by the fraction 3 over 3. You can fill those parts in, but I want to get to the more practical application, which we would get here in section A. Now we're not going to use method 1 and method 2. We're just going to use one method, and that is using the least common denominator using the prime factorization method. So first thing, we look here. Whenever we add fractions, we must have the same denominator in order to add the fractions. And when we don't, what we would do is this. We would go off to the side and find the least common denominator by doing prime factorization. So 5 is already prime, but 9 breaks down to 3 times 3. So the prime factorization of 9 is 3 times 3. So now we use the least common denominator. But right now, let's do the least common multiple. We know before in the last section, which was 3, 7, we found the least common multiple, and we look here. We have 2 3s, and we also have a 5. None of them matches up, so we will list all of them. So the least common multiple here is equal to 45. Now, when I say least common denominator, it will have the same answer as the least common multiple, but this is telling us that our new denominator would be 45. So let me write the fraction again. We had 2/5 plus 4/9. Now, like I said, our new denominator would be 45. Now, to find our new numerator, this is what we would do. We would take our new denominator and divide it by our original denominator. 45 divided by 5 gives us 9. Now we could go off to the side and do that. We could take 5 into 45. 5 goes into 45 9 times. 9 times 5 is 45. We have no remainder. So we would take this 9 and multiply it to the numerator and the denominator. 9 times 5 gave us 45, and 9 times 2 would give us 18. Now we go here to this 45. We would take the new denominator, which is 45, divided by the old denominator, which is 9. So we would take 9 into 45. We could write this down here. 9 goes into 45 5 times. And 5 times 9 is 45. We had no remainder. So we're going to multiply the numerator and denominator by 5. 9 times 5 is 45, and 4 times 5 is 20. Now we can add these fractions. Our denominator would stay 45, and we would take 18 plus 20, which is 38. And they have nothing in common, so our final answer here is 38 over 45. Now we go here to problem number 2. We had different denominators, so we need to find the least common denominator. So we would take 6 and 9. 6 becomes 2 times 3, and 9 becomes 3 times 3. So our prime factorization of 6 is 2 times 3, and our prime factorization of 9 is 3 times 3. So let's find our least common denominator. Remember, it's the same as the least common multiple. Now we look here at 2. We only have 1, 2. So we bring that down. Now here we have a 3, and here we have 2 3s. So remember, whenever we have the same number, we look to see which number had the most amount of that number. 9 has 2 3s, so we will write 2 3s. And that's it. So our least common denominator, when we multiply this out, is 18. So I'm going to write the 5 6 and also the 2 9s. and our new denominator is 18. Now we do it like we did the last problem. We'll say 18 divided by 6 gives us 3. So we'll multiply this numerator and denominator by 3. So 3 times 5 is 15. And then we go to the next. We will have 18 divided by 9. We know it's 2. So we multiply the numerator and denominator by 2. 9 times 2 is 18, and 2 times 2 is 4. Now we add these together. We know we keep our denominator as 18. And we add our numerator. 15 plus 4 is 19. And they have nothing in common, and we're done. Now we go here to number 3. Now we have our denominators are not the same, but we have 6 and 18. So we need to find the prime factorization of 6 and the prime factorization of 18. The prime factorization of 6 is 2 and 3. And the prime factorization of 18, we'll do 2 times 9, and 9 breaks down to 3 times 3. So now, the prime factorization of 6 is 2 and 3. Prime factorization of 18 is 2 times 3 times 3. So now, the least common denominator, we have 1, 2 in each of these numbers, so we'll just write 2 once. We have 1 3 here and 2 3s here, so we'll write down 2 3s. So our least common denominator is 18. So 18 would be our least common denominator. Now I'm going to write these fractions down again, so we will have space when we need to multiply. Okay, so now we'll say 18 divided by 6 is 3. So we'll multiply this numerator and denominator by 3. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 6 is 18. Now we say 18 divided by 18 is 1. So we'll multiply this numerator and denominator by 1. So 18 times 1 is 18, and 5 times 1 is 5. So now we add them. We have 3 18s plus 5 18s, which will give us 8 over 18. Now we know this can be simplified, but what we need to do is find the prime factorization of these and then simplify. Now we already have the prime factorization of 18, which is 2 times 3 times 3. But now we need the prime factorization of 8. And just in case you didn't remember, 8 breaks down to 2 times 4. 2 is prime, 4 is not. And 4 breaks down to 2 times 2. So we will have 3 2's as the prime factorization of 8. Now we simplify out. We only have one set of 2's that are the same, so they simplify out, and we will be left with 4 9ths. And that is our final answer. Now we come here to number 4. We have 4 and we have 5. We break 4 down to 2 times 2. And we know that this is the prime factorization of 4, which is 2 and 2. And the prime factorization of 5 is 5. They have nothing in common, so our least common denominator is 2 times 2 times 5, which would give us 20. So now we'll take 1/4 plus 4/5, and our common denominator would be 20. Now, 20 divided by 4 we know is 5, so we'll multiply our numerator and denominator by 5. 5 times 4 is 20, and 5 times 1 is 5. Now, we would take 20 divided by 5, which we know is 4, and multiply our numerator and denominator by 4. So 5 times 4 is 20, and 4 times 4 is 16. Now we will add these together. Our denominator will stay 20, and 5 plus 16 is 21. And that is it for problem number 4. Now we go to example set B. It says subtract. Now we have number 1. We have 4 9ths minus 2/5. Now what we need to do is we need to take the prime factorization of 9 and 5. Because just like in addition, we need our denominators to be the same. So we go off here to the side. We would take 9 and we would take 5 and find the prime factorization. Prime factorization of 9 is 3 and 3. And so we know the prime factorization of 5 is just 5. So now we would do the least common denominator. We have nothing in common between these two numbers, so we write them out as is. So our least common denominator is 45. So now we'll write these fractions again because of spacing issues. And our least common denominator is 45. So that becomes our new denominator. So we just take 45 divided by 9, which we know is 5. So we'll multiply the numerator and denominator by 5. And then here 45 divided by 5 is 9. We'll multiply the numerator and denominator by 9. 5 times 4 is 20. And 5 times 9 we know is 45. 2 times 9 is 18. And 5 times 9 is 45. So now we subtract. Our denominator stays 45, and 20 minus 18 is 2. So that is our final answer. Now we come here to number 2. We see we had different denominators, so we need to find a prime factorization of 6 and 9. Prime factorization of 6 is 2 and 3. Prime factorization of 9 is 3 and 3. So now we need to write our LCD. Now we have we have 1, 2, and we have 2 sets of 3s. We have 1 3 here and 2 3s here, so we know we'll bring down the 2 3s. So our LCD is 18. So now we'll write these fractions again, and we know our denominator, our common denominator, would be 18. 18 divided by 6 is 3. So we multiply our numerator and denominator by 3. 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 5 is 15. Now we would take 18 divided by 9, which is 2. So we'll multiply our numerator and denominator by 2. And 9 times 2 is 18, and 2 times 2 is 4. So now our denominator is 18. 15 minus 4 is 11. So our final answer here is 11/18. Now we scroll down here, and we have number 3. Now we need to find a common denominator of 18 and 6 because they're not the same. So we would take 18, we would take 6. 18 breaks down to 2 times 9. 2 is prime, 9 is not. 9 breaks down to 3 times 3. And then this 6 breaks down to 2 times 3. So we have 2 times 3 times 3. And we will have 2 times 3. So our LCD, we have 2's that match up. We'll write that once. And we have 2 3's and 1 3. So we'll write these 2 3's. So our LCD is 18. So we have 5/18 minus 1 6. Common denominator is 18. 18 divided by 18 is 1. So we multiply our numerator and denominator by 1. So that will give us 5/18. 18 divided by 6 is 3. So we'll multiply our numerator and denominator by 3. And that will give us 3/18. Now, our denominator stays 18. Our numerator is 5 minus 3, which is 2. And we take the prime factorization. We already know the prime factorization of 18 is 2, 3, and 3. And 2 is already prime. These 2 simplify out. And remember I told you, when everything simplifies out from your numerator or denominator, that leaves 1. And our denominator is 9. So our final answer is 1/9. Now we go here to number 4. Now, prime factorization of 5, we know is 5. And the prime factorization of 4 is 2 and 2. So we will have 5 here and 2 and 2 here. Our LCD is all of them. So we add 2, 2, and 5. So our LCD is 20. Now, we write these fractions again. 4/5 minus 1/4. Our common denominator is 20. 20 divided by 5 is 4. So we multiply our numerator and denominator by 4. That will give us 16/20. 20 divided by 4 is 5. So we'll multiply our numerator and denominator by 5. That will give us 5/20. So now we subtract. Our denominator stays 20. 16 minus 5 is 11. So we have 11/20. Now section C states solving problems by adding or subtracting unlike fractions. It says find the difference in length of 2 boards if one